Son of a chief, eh?
It's not important.
Oh, no, it's not important. You don't have to tell me that.
The parcel contains her food for the month. It's left on the wall by the gate on the road 1.5 miles away from Low Birkhat Farm.
Stop and reset. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Calendar Countdown, a brand new quiz game that literally all the family can play.
The judges are now going to choose 8 girls from the lineup of 18, and the chosen 8 will appear once again, one by one, this time in casual dress.
Just sit back, relax, pick yourself a couple and cheer them on a bit. Hang on, I'm just explaining the rules to the viewers here.
Now try this for size. You've probably seen bar billiards, snooker with bunkers, and there is some very nifty cue work going on in there, I'll tell you.
Miss Silver, toss some tassels for us, please.
Hello. This is the first image seen by viewers of independent television when it launched 50 years ago this month. It's been preserved at the National Museum of Photography, Film and Television right here in Bradford. First viewers of ITV were only in the London area, but that soon spread to the north. And over the last 50 years, some of the most successful ITV programmes have been made right here in Yorkshire. Over the next hour, we'll be looking at some of the more memorable moments and seeing how times have changed. Television technology has changed beyond all recognition in the last 50 years. In the 1950s, when ITV first started, this would have been still used to make television pictures, and now we can make television films on a camera like this. This is an age when satellite broadcasts are beamed all over the world, and we can create virtual sets in any television studio. Fortunately, some of the old technology has been saved as well, by people like John Trenuth here at the Bradford Museum. Just talk us through one or two of these old cameras, John.
Well, this is the camera that ITV started with, and for the next 10 years it was to form the mainstay of ITV production right across the country, so it was used by companies like Granada as well as ATV.
We have always thought that it might be a good question to put to Mr. Kenneth Dodd and the members of the Beatles. To what extent do they attribute their success to their hairstyles?
I like to keep it in trim. You know, I eat a lot of shredded wheat because it's good for the hair, and I have it cut twice a year, whether I need it or not, short back and sides and a bit off the shoulders. And, you know, I think so.
What do you feel about the boys?
I think there's a wonderful style, actually, because they're different than me, of course, with them being Martians.
By the time we get to the start of Yorkshire Television, Yorkshire Television was the first television station in Europe to be designed for colour right from day one.
Right.
And this is one of the cameras that started Yorkshire Television's broadcasts. They would have these in the studios. They'd also use them on outside broadcasts.
Here is the car, arriving with Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Kent and the Earl of Scarborough to perform this opening ceremony.
Problem with this camera, first of all, its weight. It's very, very heavy. With the camera and the lens and the cable on it, you're looking at just under 1/4 ton. And the other thing is the cost. Yeah. Because in today's terms, when this camera was new, for the camera and the lens, you're looking at nearly £500,000 per camera.
In today's value?
In today's value. So if you've got a studio with 4 cameras in, that's £2 million.
Yeah. And the little camera that I had earlier on, this is a few £100.
Yes, and that's got a video recorder in it as well as just the camera. By the time we get to the 80s, you can see this camera is physically much smaller, so it's much better for outside broadcasts. Yeah. It's better for use in the studios because you're not forever banging into the set.
Can I just ask you this? When you did marry Dennis Thatcher, it wasn't widely known at the time, and it wasn't really known until fairly late, actually, till about 25 years later, that he'd been married before. Why did you feel that was a good idea to keep it secret?
But one didn't. One just wasn't asked. And you don't go about saying, look, my husband's been married before.
This is a machine I'm fascinated with, John. I noticed it when we came in. What, is it a mellotron?
It's a mellotron, yeah, and in fact you can hear it wheezing away in the background. This is a sound effects mellotron, which has just got sound effects recorded on it. And what you need to remember is that these days most television is pre-recorded. So if you take a programme like Emmerdale, there's several weeks between it being shot and it being broadcast, which gives the crew time to work on it, to craft the final programme, to put the credits on, to put the music on, etc.
And any sound effects that might be needed.
But in the days when all television was live, you had to do the sound effects live. So this is a sound effects machine. So what we've got here, on each key, there are a set of different sound effects. So, for example, we have a train. We can also blow the whistle. And so on. Now, each key has a lot of different effects on it, depending on which switches you select. And you can also, if you go back to your telephone call, if you slow the thing down, it sounds like a different telephone.
It's engaged, that one.
It's engaged, I wouldn't answer it.
We've got another engagement. Come this way, I want to look at something else. So, television sets, of course, have changed through the years as well. This is typical of the kind of set that you would have had at the start of ITV. And if you'd bought this set in the early 50s, of course, it would only receive one channel, that was BBC. So if you wanted to watch ITV, you had to buy one of these. This is a set-top box. And we thought set-top boxes were no innovation, eh?
So you plug this into your existing TV set and it allows you to pick up ITV as well as BBC.
We'll bring you shows to turn the other channel green. That's the commercial. Tony Lamon's Hammond. Daniel Remy is coming. We've the Dalmores and Gangbusters.
This, though, is the television that made colour viewing a mass spectator sport, I suppose you'd say.
Yeah, this was the first of the very reliable Japanese sets that came into the UK market, and the advantage that it had was that it ran cool. The earlier sets often used to burst into flames. It was also quite small. Again, the competitors' sets at that time were very big and took up a large part of your living room.
Well, that's it for part one. Coming up, pipes and cardigans on primetime TV. Was this really the golden age of television? I'll see you in a bit. I'm in the archives now below ITV Yorkshire studios, and this is where they store thousands of classic television programmes. Look at this one, Says Les. Hadley, that's the one with Gerald Harper, if you remember that one. And Stars on Sunday. Who could ever forget Jez Yates at his organ? Of course, some programmes have stood the test of time more than others. Indoor League was a surprise early hit for YTV. Today's generation may be used to slightly more high-tech entertainment, but in the 70s, millions tuned in to watch this weekly Olympics of pub sports.
Now then, just slipped out for a minute from the biggest bonanza of sporting skill I've ever clapped eyes on. Down here at the Queen's Hotel in Leeds, we've got 60-odd of the best players I've ever seen in my life. None of your Charlton and your Geoffrey Boycotts, mind you. This bunch of lads are kings at those sports you get up and down the land in every pub. There's one fellow who's shown up from Scunthorpe in a 10-gallon Stetson hat, and he's floating coins around in the best game of shove halfpenny I've ever happened across. Bet you didn't know that the North's best skittle players come from Barnsley, like this young one here.
His skittle play has deteriorated slightly in the last minute or so. Here he goes. That's a better one, that's a flopper. That is a flopper, all 9 down. And that's Dennis Jones looks philosophical in the background because that could be an important...
Watching over proceedings with his trademark pipe and a pint was the former Yorkshire and England fast bowler Freddie Truman. Indoor League was one of the first programmes to cover darts, long before Eric Bristow and Jockey Wilson became household names.
He's cool, 60. He's calm, he plays for up to £250 a game, and for that sort of money, you've got to be calm.
Lots more darts like that, and better. In part 2, meet Vera Poboreszczak, landlady of a pub in Bradford and a demon bar billiards player. Sit in a tick.
Back then it seemed perfectly normal for Fred Truman to be puffing away on his pipe in front of the cameras. In fact, smoking in the studio then wasn't unusual.
Ted Heath has decided we want firm and fair government. Where the devil hadn't it been? Where the devil hadn't it been bringing it forward before? It had 3 years to start it. And if you call it firm and fair the way it's handled the miners' dispute, well, you must be living in cloud cuckoo land.
The flame dies, smoke gets in your eyes.
Okay, well, let's get the village section behind it.
Smoke gets in your eyes.
Let's get a little
smoke gets in your
This is Studio 4 at Yorkshire Television, and over the years it's been the setting for all sorts of comedies and dramas and game shows. Nowadays, an army of designers and artists are employed to create the sets we see on our favourite television programmes. This is the set for My Parents Are Aliens, and as you can see, it has to be bright and colourful to grab the attention of the modern viewer. The same goes for hairstyles and costumes and the graphics and designs that define a programme. But over the years, styles have changed. When 3-2-1 began in the late 1970s, couples were queuing up to win a brand new Mini. However, more often than not, they failed to crack the cryptic clues and ended up with Dusty Bin. This was an era when a game show wasn't a game show without a gaggle of scantily dressed dolly birds. The 80s were a decade of technological advancement, and the calendar countdown clock was cutting edge. This was a pilot edition of the show made by ITV before it transferred to Channel 4.
Now, here in the countdown studio with our contestants, our live audience will be joining in and playing the game. So right now, why don't all you at home go and grab a pencil and paper, because that's all you need to play.
It's Bruce's Price is Right!
When Brucey came north in the 90s, the king of the game shows was assisted by glamorous sidekicks from both sexes.
An ultra-slim camcorder and a long weekend in Venice.
Back in the 1970s, beauty contests attracted huge TV audiences, and the annual Miss Yorkshire Television was no exception.
The chosen 8 will appear once again, one by one, this time in casual dress.
I know it's not politically correct nowadays, but you have to think back to the context of the 1970s, and it was a lot of fun. The girls enjoyed it, the presenter enjoyed it, and believe me, the crowd enjoyed it that was there, and so did the television audience. We used to get massive audiences for Miss YTV, and it was just a lot of fun.
Miss Yorkshire Television, the stage is yours.
This is Yorkshire Television, broadcasting from the Emley Moor, Belmont and associated transmitters of the Independent Broadcasting Authority.
It seems perfectly natural now to watch television while we eat our cornflakes, but in 1977, YTV's experiment with breakfast television was ahead of its time. Bob Warman on duty again.
Historic day for us, bringing breakfast television to Britain. It's a pleasure to be with you, but no pleasure, I'm afraid, to have to bring you these news headlines.
Good Morning Calendar was Britain's first foray into breakfast television, something entirely new, and it was a 9-week experiment to see if the advertisers would like it. And when you look back at that programme, it was very crude compared with the sort of polished productions that we have today. But it did contain all those elements of travel news, weather, gossip. There's heavy reliance on the morning newspapers and on the telephone. We got all our traffic news on the telephone and so on and so forth.
Let's go over and talk to Inspector Peter Brafton at Wakefield. Good morning. Well, this morning really is a surprise for motorists, isn't it?
It is indeed, yes.
What's the situation like at the moment?
At the moment, things are very, very good. There has been some snow showers during the night.
But this hasn't generally been allowed to settle on, especially on the major roads.
And that's where we end this first Good Morning Calendar. I'll be back at 1:20 and 6 o'clock. See you then.
Good Morning Calendar was a spin-off from the region's nightly news magazine. Calendar's been an ever-present on Yorkshire television since it launched in 1968, and the undisputed king of tea-time television was undoubtedly Richard Whiteley, now sadly missed by all. But an early star of Calendar was a man who went on to the serious world of politics, though he never took himself seriously.
This is the 12th century, an action replay. I fight against King John and the Sheriff of Nottingham. I fight for King Richard. My mistress is Maid Marian. At least I thought all this was true until I got hold of this book. It's called Robin Hood of Wakefield, and it tells me that I shouldn't be here at all.
The BBC, as soon as Yorkshire was founded, had rushed to set up a kind of outpost in Leeds, very small, where they did Look North to compete. In fact, Look North was on the air before Calendar, so it had a head start. And we had some catching up to do, but we'd caught up within months and were, for a long period, the most popular regional magazine programme and the most successful among all the other regional magazine programmes as well. So it was quite a triumph.
How many of these Calendar faces do you recognise? And now the weather. Today, meteorologists use all sorts of high-tech graphics and computer technology. But there was a time when presenting the forecast was as unpredictable as the weather itself.
Well, now, today's weather. And today's weatherman is John Hunter.
Good morning, Bob.
Well, it looks like winter's back all over again, doesn't it, this morning?
Yes, I think spring has been cancelled for a day or two.
On to the weather then, we can see it behave pretty much as we expected. Where's it going? Just won't behave.
Don't worry, the forecast's brighter for part 3. Stay with us for some of ITV Yorkshire's classics. Well, there are no prizes for guessing where I am now. This is the most famous village on British television. Emmerdale, or Emmerdale Farm as it was known then, started life in 1972 as an afternoon programme on Yorkshire television, and it's seen plenty of drama and a lot of changes in that time.
No sign of him, then? You should know better than expecting. But he ought to be here for his dad's funeral. In you go, Grandad. Take it slow. I don't want Jacob bumped about on his last ride.
Aye. It's the end of him. You were a good man, in his way. I think they'll say same when you go.
Happen not, but I'll be past caring then, I reckon.
And now I'm with the man who's known as the Mayor of Emmerdale, and that's Tim Fee, who's the line producer here. And you'll know everything there is to know about this village.
Well, I know a little bit, yeah, I suppose. I've been here a long time.
It started in 1972, Tim.
Uh-huh.
Was it envisaged as a soap opera that would run and run and run?
No, well, I mean, it was a sort of... I mean, I wasn't actually on it then, but I think it was like a 15-parter or something, you know, that was supposed to run in the afternoon, and
yes,
that was it, really. But it sort of gathered interest very quickly, and people seemed to like it, and, you know, from small acorns, great oak trees grow, don't they? And that's what happened. It didn't run continually. It did actually come off the air from time to time.
Yes.
And the length of runs, you know, the number of episodes that were produced became more and more and more until, you know, at one point we just started doing it all year. You know.
At that time it was known as Emmerdale Farm. Mm-hmm. Quite a cosy, round the kitchen table story of everyday folk in the Dales.
Certainly was.
Then it became more and more dramatic. Was that planned?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it was lovely showing the farming outdoors and the great Yorkshire countryside and everything else, but we had to introduce a bit of speed, a bit of pace to it to keep the viewers interested. It is amazing how they say, oh, it's not like it used to be. But when you show them what it used to be like, they say, oh, my God, wasn't it slow? You know, we love it now because what we do is drama. We do big drama. And we do comedy, and I think we do both things very well, and you know, we fly high in the ratings, and the viewers may hark back to the old times, but actually seem to love what we're doing now.
People just want something, you know, they've had their dinner, and they want to sit down and just be just pure entertainment of really broad range for half an hour, and that's why it's been so good for so many years now. Where's the letter? Where's my letter?
It's one of the few soap operas that's actually increasing its viewing figures.
Yeah, we've worked very hard on sort of keeping an eye on the ball, if you like, which is not easy on soap. It's a rock and roll ride all the time, a roller coaster, really. We're riding on a high. We've got a fantastic story team. We've got some great production values, which we've had on the screen over the last couple of years, and we're looking to continue that through the coming year. There's no cutbacks on Emmerdale. We're going to keep you watching.
I don't know who she is, but I'm looking forward to finding out.
I think that Emmerdale has a special place in people's hearts because, you know, it's pure escapism. This village, you know, with all these people living in this kind of very close quarters and all of these things going on, affairs and feuds and family feuds and deaths and births and marriages. And, you know, a lot of my friends that watch it say, you know, they get in at 7 o'clock and it's like the wind down, you know, you put it on, you can just kick back and you know, enjoy it, really.
Programmes made by ITV Yorkshire top the ratings all over the world. You're just as likely to see Emmerdale in Estonia as you are Heartbeat in Honolulu. Heartbeat has been running for 14 years. That's 4 years longer than the swinging 60s lasted. But the series remains a central part of ITV's Sunday night schedule.
Heartbeat, why does a love kiss stay in my memory?
Who knows why Heartbeat is so successful? It's probably got all the ingredients that, you know, goes into making a really good pie. Most of the successful series of the last 20 years have either been about coppers or doctors, and Heartbeat's got the police story, they've got the medical story. It's set in the best decade, the 60s. Well, I think that's the best decade. So you've got the 60s music, you've got the vintage cars, you've got the Yorkshire moors, you've got all these ingredients. You've got quirky characters, it's a wonderful community, and it's about the only series on television now that portrays the 60s.
What do you think? Heartbeat, I think, has got everything. It's got, you know, the nostalgia, the music, it's got all the backdrops of the North Yorkshire moors, which everybody loves to see. And it's got great characters, and it's easy watching it, you know, it's not, no swearing. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's nice, easy Sunday nights viewing.
You forgot your pen when you were paying your bill.
Oh, thanks. I'm not usually this chaotic.
And Heartbeat has led to the successful spin-off, The Royal.
Yes. Yes, indeedy. Well, that will have to come out. Right away. Good of you to join us, nurse. Straightforward gallbladder. Wheel him in. I'll do him first.
There may be a slight problem, Mr. Rose. Dr. Ormerod's your anaesthetist today. He isn't answering his lights.
Why on earth not? Where is he?
Well, we're trying to find out.
He'll be aware of the urgency, Mr. Rose. He is the patient's GP.
I've an outpatient's in Ashfordley and hemorrhoids in Scarborough. I can't wait all day for you lot to pull your finger out. Don't scowl, sister. Kills the germs.
Before Heartbeat and the Royal, another Sunday night series took a nostalgic look back at the previous decade, the 1950s. The Darling Buds of May, starring David Jason, topped the ratings from episode 1 and turned its largely unknown cast into superstars.
We were very dubious. You know, we thought it's nostalgic, it's not particularly funny, nothing much happens, it's charming. But we didn't, what did we know? Because it tapped straight into a need in people's hearts, I think. You know, it was the first of the feel-good dramas.
Mr. Sidney Larkin?
Yes, that's me. Larkin by name, Larkin by nature. What can I do for you, eh? Nice weather, isn't it?
I'm from the Office of the Inspector of Taxes.
Inspector of what?
Taxes. Inland Revenue.
No, you must have come to the wrong house.
I had really no idea how it was going to go. As I said, it was a charming thing. I thought it's maybe not quite funny enough to be a comedy, it's not quite dramatic enough to be a drama, and the first I knew was when I walked down my road and there was a couple of fruit and veg men at the end, and they were both holding up tabloid newspapers on the day after the first episode went out, and suddenly we were front page news for the tabloids, and that I thought, well, it's a flash in the pan. Catherine's gorgeous, and you know they dug up some picture of Catherine with no clothes on, and I thought, well, that'll fizzle out, and then it just didn't, and it built and built and built, and we got sort of insane ratings, and then when we came to make the second series, the paparazzi were all over us like a cheap suit, and it was very weird. For a couple of years, you got a little taste of what some people get all the time.
Told you he was crazy about horses.
Are you? Are you really, Mr. Charlton?
Butter, cheese, eggs.
Yorkshire Television has produced many award-winning documentaries. Millions of viewers were enthralled by the story of spinster Hannah Hawkswell, who lived in a remote farmhouse in the Dales.
I like a good fire. It's essential. I think I have a system of keeping expenditure down to the very bare necessities. In some, I wouldn't say that I really, in some respects, that I can even afford some necessities, but I keep it down to the bare essentials. I put the brake on and keep it on.
But the real reason we've come to the top of Barnsley main muckstack is because it gives you the best view of Barnsley. Just look at that lot.
No joke living in Barnsley. No joke around the town. Those folk living in Barnsley all know what they've found.
But those 22 consecutive failures has put the morale of the Doncaster players under considerable strain.
After this period of time, the tension's building up all the time. It gets worse. It does definitely get worse. There's more at stake now. We've got to win.
Tonight on First Tuesday, Northern Ireland, an exclusive report on the peace group which negotiates with paramilitaries to stop sectarian killing.
We don't work our way up high, we work with people on the ground. And they know what's happening on the ground. And they've got they're streetwise, for want of a better word. They are definitely streetwise.
TV's most famous globetrotter first packed his bags for ITV in 1968. And over the next 2 decades, Alan Wicker showed us his world.
In the first half of this century, Hong Kong's floating population grew to 100,000. It's the size of York or Oxford. 6,000 boats, from squat sampans where perhaps 10 people live out their lives, to proud ocean-going cargo junks populated by an aristocratic family or 2 or 3.
It wasn't until 20 years ago, really, that people started being able to fly around the place. And 40 years ago, the idea of going to Benidorm was an unbelievable adventure. It was like 1,000 miles up the Amazon, you know. It was unknown, it was little known. I could do a whole programme on my way from the airport in Singapore, because who'd been to Singapore before? Now, people travel more than I do, and the checkout girl in my supermarket says, oh, we're off to the Maldives next week.
YTV, Rooksby or Rising Damp, VTR 2721, Part 1, Take 1.
We also saw a much less glamorous side to the 70s. Writer Eric Chappell wrote a one-off play about a seedy landlord and his long-suffering lodgers called Rooksby. It eventually became ITV's most popular sitcom.
Got rising damp, my furniture's falling to pieces.
How can you have rising damp in the attic, eh? If you're higher than the crows up there, should be very healthy, like Switzerland.
Switzerland? Rigsby, my suits are going green.
Yes, I don't deny your suits are going green, but it is not rising damp.
What is it then?
Condensation.
If you watch Rising Damp, you think, well, maybe that could have been done on a stage, because we moved from the kitchen, we moved back to the sort of flat, we moved down to the basement. But in fact, most of the scenes are just arbitrarily moved, because we think, well, we're on television, we've got to move it around a bit. But actually, and it was a play to start with, and then did it as a play in the West End, and that was the sort of main ingredient, people talking to each other.
Hey, and you better watch your step. Things are beginning to look up around here. There might not be room for you now. Not now I'm getting in a better class of tenant.
Excuse me. My name's Smith. Is this my room? Leonard Rossiter was absolutely perfect for that part. He was born to play it. And I think that chemistry of him in that part and the rest of the cast, I mean, I think that's very important, that you get the right people to create the correct chemistry in the show, and that seemed to happen. I mean, I think it was an absolute accident. I don't think anybody knew what was going to happen, but it happens from time to time.
Hey, Rigsby, I'm not sharing. Never mind. I pay full
If you are the Vessel Virgins, you'll get used to it. You can be brothers or sisters.
By the 1980s, we had higher aspirations. That meant holidays abroad with duty-free.
Well, it looks as though it already has.
Oh, I thought that meal was superb. Did you enjoy it, David?
Oh, yes. What about you, love? Robert?
I'll let you know later. Hasn't hit the vital parts yet. What were those rubbery bits?
Squid.
Good Lord.
The decade of Thatcherism also showcased the political ambitions of Tory MP Alan Bustard in The New Statesman.
Now, Piers, here's something you can do for me.
Oh, yes?
I'd like you to resign your seat.
Possibly resign, Alan. They're tipping me to become the next Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Piers, what is 2 and 2?
4.
Well, it's not the job for you. You're far too overqualified.
No, I'm sorry, Alan.
Or freshly baked onion cake.
And nowadays, the cast of Fat Friends are checking figures of a different kind.
Fresh cream. See how you done? Step on the scales.
It's no good holding your stomach in. It won't make you any lighter.
Don't worry, love. You'll lose some next week. And now you've bought that dress, I'm really going to help you, love.
What have you been doing?
Been away for a few days.
Where to?
Whitby.
Is there any food left in Whitby?
Coming up, remembering the day YTV crashed off air. And some memorable ads from years gone by. The Yorkshire television theme tune was based on that great Yorkshire anthem, Ilkley Moor Bar Tat. But it's at Emley Moor where we find the transmitter that broadcasts pictures to most of this region. This is actually the second transmitter, because the first one came crashing to the ground one very cold March afternoon shortly after Yorkshire television started to broadcast. and it nearly brought the fledgling company to its knees.
Emley Moor, a bleak easterly slope in the Pennines just above Huddersfield. A home for hardy sheep and the home also of Yorkshire Television's lifeline to its region of 7 million viewers. The giant tube, which pokes 1,200 feet into the freezing air, pumps out Yorkshire's television signals from Teesside to Lincolnshire. The pop programme Discotheque is being sent out to the region. The time is 1 minute and 45 seconds past 5 o'clock in the afternoon, precisely.
Local farmer Ted Gill has lived up here all of his life. He still believes it's a miracle no one was killed.
Weather conditions had been bad for 6 weeks. We'd had low cloud, we'd had plenty of snow, all the telephone wires had been coated with ice, and there were no communication on telephone wires because they were all down. And there was ice falling at the time, and you could hear them dropping into the snow at the side of the road or whatever, making a lot of weird noises. And I remember my farmer man saying to me, "Do you think Master's going to come down, Ted?" And he was making a awful weird creaking noises, everything. We never thought he'd come down. My wife came out and says, "Television's gone off." And what had happened from there was, without anybody realising, my daughter, about 10 or 11 more children from the local village of Emley, they just got down by the lay-by when the mast came down. Probably 100 yards, 150 yards away, so they were very lucky. They were the nearest to it. The riggers, we called them, who built it, they had a wood out on site. I think that went about 16 foot underground when it hit it.
The Emley Moor mast is one of the most familiar landmarks in the Yorkshire landscape. It stands 1,081 feet to the top of its antenna. It's officially called the Archiva Tower now, after the company that own it. It transmits television pictures as far east as the North Sea, to the west up to the Pennines, to the south parts of Lincolnshire, and all the way up to the North Yorkshire moors. Along with its sister transmitter, the huge Belmont Tower in Lincolnshire, 6 million people are able to receive Yorkshire television programmes. It's not just the latest episode of Emmerdale that's transmitted to your home from here. Advertising's a vital part of ITV. The commercial break pays for your favourite programmes. And many local companies have benefited and raised their profile by television advertising.
It's grand to find a comfortable chair when you're getting on a bit or you've got arthritis. My niece got this from Shackleton's, you know. Shackleton's original high seat. Never thought it'd be so easy to get in and out of. Shackleton's high seat chair, it's lovely.
What ITV has enabled local businesses to do is to grow, harnessing the medium of television into big, powerful regional players and then national players. And there's no better example than here in Yorkshire with DFS, who started with just one store in Abwickler Street and are now a multi-million-pound national operation and highly successful. And there are many other instances of small local advertisers that have developed and grown their business using ITV.
Reduced in price. Not once, but twice. Are we crazy? No. We're DFS. And it's our double discount sale.
We first advertised on television a long time ago now, actually. It was in 1969 when the business first started, actually. We opened the doors on Sunday and our adverts went out on Yorkshire Television on Friday and Saturday, so 36 years ago.
Northern Upholstery's once-a-year summer sale answers all your questions.
Why?
We're clearing stocks, we've cut prices to the bone, and there's free credit too, that's why.
Where?
At the Northern Upholstery sale, of course, Carcroft, Brigg, Thorpe Arch and Hull.
The success of our ad campaigns over the years, well, they've varied, as you might imagine, over 36 years. Some have been incredibly successful, others not quite as good. But that hasn't been Yorkshire Television's fault, frankly. It depends on the creativity, of the ads, how exciting they are, or the proposition, the offers that we make.
Over the years, some of the adverts have become more famous than the programmes they were sandwiched between, and made local celebrities out of the people who fronted them.
These are the Mike's carpets, famous room-size remnants. They cost you £35, £29, £28 and £16 right now.
Mike's carpets.
When we started doing TV adverts, it was well, and still is very, very tongue-in-cheek. And but nowadays it's a different thing. People say, "Oh, I think half the people in the world think my surname's Carpets." You know, if I do a gig for somebody or do a dinner job or something like that, people don't say, "Oh, there's Mike Smith over there." They say, "Hey, there's Mike's Carpets there," you know. And it's a great thing. It's a great thing. It's lovely, and it's certainly been good for business over the years, and good for my life because it's nice to people to come up and speak to you in the street, to be recognised. People say, hey, "How are you doing?" And 99% of people are very, very nice. And over the years, it's been tremendous. I know you want a quality carpet, you want a big selection, you want the right price, and you want it now. Get yourself down to Mike's Carpets because they're going fast.
Mike's Carpets.
In Yorkshire, and we're still the greatest county in the world, there's a tremendous pride about Yorkshire television. People see it as being their station, and you know, they're happy to be involved in it. They see it as something better than anywhere else, which it is. You go to other areas, other TV areas, and there isn't that same local identity, same pride that there is in Yorkshire. And I think businesses in Yorkshire benefited tremendously because of Yorkshire television. Great programmes that's been made at ITV over the years, and it's obviously been good for selling advertising as well. But I think the company, any companies advertising on YTV, and the public generally, have benefited tremendously over the years that YTV's been there.
I think Yorkshire television has had a massive impact on the region over all those years, frankly. Probably a bigger impact than most people would imagine. They've been a huge employer. They employ more than 1,000 people there in Leeds and around. And, of course, they've showcased the region because they've made some fantastic programmes over the years. Just the ones I can recall, the obvious ones, is Frost, for example, Darling Buds of May, Heartbeat and Emmerdale. They're programmes that are recognised nationally, and they've raised the profile of the county throughout the whole of the UK, and I think that's attracted people into our region.
A recent survey by Leeds University came to the conclusion that ITV Yorkshire has contributed hundreds of millions of pounds to the regional economy, as well as being one of the region's biggest employers.
Well, ITV's been a very important player at the heart of a commercial media sector, and no more so again than in Yorkshire, where we employ over 1,000 people across our transmission region, as far afield as Goathland and Scarborough and Bradford, as well as at our main base in Leeds. And also over 1,200 people are employed in supply industries, supplying ITV Yorkshire's productions. So we're a very important industry in our region.
ITV Yorkshire has also made a huge contribution to the community by funding many projects and providing an on-air platform for public service campaigns.
Hello everyone, welcome to National Walking Day. We are certainly putting Britain on the move. It might be a bit chilly today, but we're going to have a fantastic walk all the way from Leeds to Skipton.
It's a long way. It's 29 miles, but we've got our stepometers. Have you got yours on?
I've got mine on, yet we're ready to go. It's there, don't worry, it's there.
All the presenters here. We've got Ian, we've got Gemma, we've got John Mitchell,
we've got Richard,
we've got Richard, all going to set off with all these lovely people who are all going to join us on this 29-mile walk.
Is everybody ready, folks?
Yorkshire Station will be a major production centre.
Over the past 5 decades, we've produced countless hours of high-quality programmes, some perhaps more memorable than others. This is how a young Michael Parkinson saw the role of his local station.
I would like to see Yorkshire television blossom with a style and attitude all its own. Its quality should be unmistakable. When a television programme carries the stamp, made in Yorkshire, it should mean the same as steel made in Sheffield, cloth made in Bradford, Yorkshire cricket, Barnsley beer. It's a lot to expect, and it will undoubtedly take time. All I really ask is, no matter what they do, I want them to remember to be very Yorkshire about it.
The world of television may be constantly changing, but here at ITV Yorkshire we're still committed to providing quality programming for this region and beyond. As we approach our golden milestone, we're still proud of that special brand, made in Yorkshire.
I wait till after morning surgery. It doesn't need emptying so often. You see, people tend
Good morning,
to...
good morning.
Oh, you're rather early, Mr. Rose.
I've a busy day. Get them to jump to it, matron.
Inform Staff Nurse Taylor that His Majesty's arrived.
Pay for it now.
Mr. Larkin, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but we need to telephone your bank to confirm...
Bank? No, I ain't got a bank. I don't believe in it.
Then how do you propose to pay for this?
Well, cash, of course. Ready as ready.
Yet still worried that showing their faces to us may get them into trouble in another place. For centuries, the only water people on land were young girls apprenticed as concubines. But today, boat people of all ages are dispersing and going ashore.
If that had meant business, it would have been through to the bone. She's playing with him.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, she can come round and play anytime.